For 3 or 4 days, the city doesn't smell like urine.
Oh man, it's gotten bad. And it's been a year since I've been walked through.
That's the best opening quote we've ever had, Lee.
You know what? It is what it is. I said what I said. I'm not backing down.
I think Ted does that. He intentionally waits and say, "Oh, he's going to say something. Someone's going to say something good. I'm
Oh, I
starting to
wish I
stream."
could time it that precisely.
Hey, sweeps week. We gotta do that to get all the other SEO, shows and let them know that we're still the king of the daytime TV.
Yeah, after all this time, people are still watching this. Dumbasses.
Oh, Clint, you always bring a tear to my eye. Welcome everyone to another episode of SEO Fight Club. Um, we were talking about the hurricane, but what I really want to talk about is this John Mueller opinion that CMS matters in no way, shape, or form, including static HTML. And so I'd just like to point out that once again, he knows not of what he speaks. uh, you know, Static HTML is infinitely more secure than WordPress. So if you want to get hacked less, you could use static HTML. It's also faster. And then within WordPress itself, there are page creators. Many are rumored to suck, and some are rumored to be okay. So, from a usability standpoint, there's massive differences. There's also a difference in page weight and page speed. You can literally change themes and get completely different uh, scores for your core web vitals. Not that that's a factor, but it does influence the user experience. Um, and yeah, some CMSs have really buggy plugins, and some CMSs are really difficult to get any custom plugins. And so some are written in now obscure languages like Ruby, and some are written in very common languages like PHP. And PHP will put all the sessions on the file system unless you customize it to use a database instead of file IO. And so that's really bad for scalability. So, this notion that in no way, shape, or form can CMS impact SEO is blatantly false. So, it couldn't be a more wrong answer. So, if you read that article and you figure, oh, there's no need to think about what CMS you're using. It doesn't matter for SEO. Yes, it does. Some are very heavy in JavaScript frameworks, and Google disables JavaScript rendering every time they run a core update, which is about 25% of the year. So that basically means that those JavaScript framework sites, if they don't have very finely tuned performance and server side rendering, they're going to not have SEO for 25% of the year. That's a big CMS consideration. The other thing is those frameworks, if you don't know what you're doing, they can be slow. And Google bot stops looking at the page for changes after 4 seconds after document ready. So if your CMS is a little too slow in that regard, uh, anything after 4 seconds is invisible to Google.
Hey, Ted, in regards to the JavaScript not running, can you say that one more time?
Yeah. So
Just a
Google,
short version, because I got a follow-up question for you. I'm setting you up.
okay. Google, typically when they run a big deployment, they turn off the rendered indexing. So there's a quick pass where they look at the raw source, and then there's a rendered pass where they render the page and get the rendered HTML and index that. And so if you're built on a JavaScript framework and you don't jump through a lot of complicated hoops to make it all magically work, when Google does a big deployment, your SEO vanishes. And I've had to help people when the web developers say, oh, the SEO vanished, that's the SEO's fault. No, it's not. The SEO didn't pick all those JavaScript frameworks, and you can prove it too.
So if you're a small business owner and you see a software that says, "Oh, look, AI is going to do your SEO," and I'm not particularly picking on one because there are several out there now, and
Mhm.
the only way that they're actually applying that is via JavaScript overlays.
Yeah,
Would you say that that's setting yourself up for failure?
yeah, that's gonna fail 25% of the time. And just remember, Google loves its Q4 core updates.
Yep.
So if you're a Q4 company and you can do without SEO for Q4, sure, go for it.
Yeah,
I
I'm going to say that there are several, as you pointed out, Clint, and one in particular that's fairly popular right now. I had a talk with their tech team 2 years ago about this particular issue, and they've implemented it in this way anyway. And I think that's just a fucking travesty out there because when you get to, Q4 and a lot of this stuff, doesn't work the way it's sold to work, then what?
Yeah, they sell it and they don't tell anyone. And this is not just that one particular. I know you're
Yeah,
talking. I'm not referring to that one particular. Everyone that I've seen so far to date, they 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 deploy via JavaScript because it's how you serve multiple CMSs. And not one of them mentions that, Google's not running JavaScript about a quarter of the year, so or every core update. Maybe we'll get lucky and Google says they're going to slow down core updates and then it'll turn into less than a quarter of a year, but still that's enough, right? And if there's a site
Yep.
score, let's say there is a site score and they update the site score while your SEO is turned off, your site score is going to be low and then you're going to lose more rankings and that's going to stay permanent, not just during that 25% of the year. So,
Yeah, and not only that, those frameworks, man, they have to be put on really serious hardware and tuned by really competent engineers to get those page load render times below 4 seconds. You cannot be sloppy with the JavaScript frameworks or it won't work the whole year.
yeah. But
And
So what I don't
I
like
only
about
brought that up. I brought that softball up since
yeah. And the reason I know all of this was because before all of the edge SEO providers out there were providing edge SEO, I was working with Lee and Carolyn to develop an edge SEO system. And we figured out that, holy crap, there are problems here. And I must have put at least 6 figures of development
yeah.
into that effort, and we had to scrap it. It wasn't good enough.
There was a lot of testing. When you have something that's going to fail, whether you're using it on your own sites or client sites, and it's going to fail a quarter of the time, holy crap, you cannot do that in good conscience. And yet, there are systems out there doing that right now.
yeah.
Yeah, Jordan brings up server side rendering, but you need to have a competent engineer long term because that is a fragile house of cards when that engineer leaves. And the new guy is notorious for breaking it, even when the engineer is there. So, I hear you, Jordan. If you can master it yourself, but if you're going to delegate it, man, that's a big risk going into Q4 with millions of dollars on the line. It's just not a worthy gamble.
So I'm going to
Um,
play devil's advocate just a bit here, Ted. I'll argue with you and say I don't want to say I'm going to agree with John Mueller, but I kind of am going to agree with him. It's not so much like what is the CMS you use or is it optimized? Like like you've already kind of brought it up. Like different CMSs are going to have different optimization requirements. You're going to have to do different things with with WordPress. And then if you have WordPress, if you have Divi, you're going to have to do different things. If you have a flat HTML or PHP site, if you have Shopify, if you have Wix, you're going to have to do different things to get these things optimized properly because they all have their strengths and they all have their weaknesses. Like you're just talking about like server-side rendering. Okay, that's great. I worked for a company we did, Verizon for several years did pre-rendering, and that came with a whole host of problems because in my mind that was worse because for me there was more places things could break and things could break and that we wouldn't notice it unless we went looking for it. Um, so I'm going to kind of agree with them. It's like it's not that they're all okay. It's not that all CMSs are all because that's kind of where the article kind of leads you down like all CMSs are just fine and you can doesn't really matter what you choose. No, they all stink and you have to learn how to properly optimize whichever one you choose. None of them are well optimized. He even makes a comment in here. One of his quotes is for the average content-y site, there's no fundament. Well, for the average site's not optimized very well. So you're right. If you're not going to be optimized really well, it doesn't matter what CMS you use. So I think he's right, but not because all the systems are okay. I think he's right because all the systems have fundamental flaws, and you just have to understand what is the fundamental flaw in the system you're using and just fix it and just figure out a way to work around it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm with Charles. It's you know, Jordan, he like talks about HTML and people run around saying, "Oh, I do HTML sites only," like it's some kind of badge of honor. And they don't mention the 99 problems that they just swapped versus the 99 problems that I have using WordPress. We both
yeah,
still have 99 problems, but your
yeah.
badge of honor is cooler, I guess, because you chose this set of problems versus that one.
just
Whatever.
one correction on that. I don't think it was Jordan advocating static HTML. That
No,
was
no,
me.
I
No.
mean, I'm just using him as an example because he's there, and why not? Fuck
Yeah,
it.
yeah, but that particular gripe came from me.
Yep.
Um,
But I think
but
Clint, you're right about one thing. It's whatever I have chosen to do my SEO is the correct version because I chose it,
Yeah, it's
and
the
all
one
the
you're
rest of you
comfortable
are
with.
wrong. That's just
Yeah.
kind of where we are.
It's the one you're comfortable with. If you're good at, running a static HTML site and it doesn't, you can, insert internal links when you're publishing the content and you can fly through that system, then knock yourself out. Me, I'm lazy as fuck, so I like using WordPress. It takes care of all that stuff for
Yeah.
me. So
well, and all your clients are going to use it. So if you're doing client SEO, you don't have a choice.
yeah, and I don't build sites so that a client can't use it and it has to have me or else it's gonna die. So that's another thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I can teach them how to use WordPress and they can do a lot of that stuff by themselves. So
Jordan makes a good point in the comments. He's like, meanwhile, Walmart breaks all the rules and has 16-second loaded client-side rendering. It's like, yeah, that's the problem. Like you'll see some of these large companies and they break all these technical rules, but they're still ranking because as we've talked about and Ted's mentioned many times, there's more than one path to number one. They're doing it based on pure authority. But I would suggest that that's actually cool when you see the Walmarts and the Amazons ranking well. Most of our sites are going to be a lot more nimble and agile, and we can figure out how to beat them by just making sure that okay, our sites we don't have their authority, but we can get authority, we can get the links, Ted talked about them having weak branches, so we can make sure ourselves we have stronger branches. We can make sure we have the really good technical setup. We can make sure that our crawlability, we can do all these little things that they can't do. When we see changes on the algorithm, we can make quick adjustments to our site. Walmart, it'll take them 6 months minimum to make a small change to a product page template. And when I say 6 months minimum, that's like minimum. That's only a small, like one or two changes. They're not doing any major revamps or anything like that. So don't fear the big sites. And yeah, the big sites, it stinks because they have the authority, um, but yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. Plus, I see someone else that supposedly Walmart uses pre-render. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I said, good. That's just one more thing for them to break and they probably don't have the expertise internally to catch that fast enough. So, having worked inside large organizations, don't fear them. They are so big and so bureaucratic. Even if you have good SEOs in the organization, it's hard to get good stuff done. So, um, yeah, you can outmaneuver them usually.
Yeah, Jordan says Walmart doesn't use pre-render. The thing I'd also mention is we don't know everything on Google's side. So technically, render time could be an allowance as part of crawl budget. And if you're an Amazon with 2 MB page source, I mean, there's no reason why Google couldn't programmatically say, oh, we trust this one, give them more render time. And so the 4-second rule might be for us mere mortals who are untrustworthy. So,
Yeah, Charles.
Yeah, Charles.
You beat me to it, Clint. I was just going to say some of us more or less than others.
Definitely Charles.
I follow all the Google rules. I have Google's developer guidelines bookmarked.
That part's true. And by follow, you mean you've read them all.
I'm practicing the Google responses. I'm going to make statements that are technically accurate, but possibly misleading.
Yeah, no, he just doesn't differentiate. He uses all of the methods taught, the goods and the bads.
Indeed. When Google says you're not allowed to do that, I wonder why.
Yeah.
All right. So, you guys have anything you'd like to announce?
Terry Samuels announced the lineup for this coming SEO spring training. It looks like a good roster. So you guys go check out SEOspringtraining.com and see the list. I think it's on there. If not, it's on his social for sure. But
It's up on LinkedIn for sure.
yeah, he's
Ted,
got
I think I saw your name on that, right?
Yeah, it's a massive list.
Yeah, it is. It'd be interesting to see how that all gets broken down and et ceteras, et ceteras.
Yep, but definitely check it out. SEO Spring Training is in the Phoenix area, and it's one of the best conferences for really good information and guidance and networking and learning SEO secrets at the bar. I think it might be one of the best conferences for shop talk at the bar. So I have yet to be disappointed in that regard.
Yeah, that's one of his his before he even thinks about speakers, he goes to venues and where can they eat, where can they drink, where can they hang out afterwards. So that's
Yeah, the venues are always very conducive to little breakouts and things like that. I've liked that. And the type of people there. It's not just, SEOs that do X. There's a lot of different kinds of people. Some people there aren't even SEOs particularly. They don't even consider themselves SEOs. And it's cool to be able to talk to, yeah, I can, Clint and I can chat about certain things together, but then I'll see somebody else like, oh wow, that person knows all about social. Let me go talk to her. Let me go talk to him about this other guy about email or something or agencies or
Yeah,
or other just business owners. I've met
yeah.
more business owners than anywhere else, and it's cool talking to them not only about their I have the same problem you're having, and he's in totally different space than I am, and then finding those solutions is pretty cool.
and
I was
the
surprised there,
origin.
Charles. I was going to say, I was surprised there, Charles. It sounded like you were going to say, I can talk to Clint about SEO and da da da. And with Lee, since he doesn't know anything about SEO, we can talk about finger painting. I expected that one to come, but it didn't. So
Now I avoid you at conferences. I don't want to talk to you.
I do too. I don't want to eat vegan, so.
Yeah. And the origin story of Charles was we met him at SEO spring training, and then when Clint needed a break, we said, "Hey, Charles, come stand in." And that's how we got our Charles.
Yeah.
Is
That's not the
this
original
event?
origin, though. Ted and you and I met on a boat years ago.
Oh yeah, the SMX. Yeah,
yeah.
That was 7, 8 years ago, I think. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so these events, they lead to networking, they lead to lifelong contacts, they lead to experts you can contact when you have a problem, and they lead to skills and, learning trajectory that other people have had success with. And they keep you current. So if you're constantly feeling like you're behind the times, a conference like this is good for getting caught up. And, conferences aren't for everyone. We're all at different places on the same journey. So if you can't afford it, that's okay. There are cheaper online conferences that you can do. But typically, conferences are for people that know how they're going to get the money back out of them through their client roster. And if you need more business expenses, which a lot of independents and startup businesses need, this is a great investment in yourself as well as getting the tax write-off. So yeah, just know that it may not be for everybody, but it's a really good idea for a lot of SEOs at that point in their journey.
Talking about conferences in general, I kind of feel like there's a real silver lining over the next couple of years that I'm starting to see a lot of different conferences get established. So, spring training's been around for a while, and over the years, some conferences have kind of gone away and haven't been as good. But I kind of feel like there's all these new conferences starting to pop up, and I like that because for me at least, I like to go to different conferences. I can go to this one this year and then that one next year. Every 6 months, I go to a different kind of conference, and it gives me a better diversity of knowledge and contacts. But yeah, definitely watch the space out there, folks, because there's a lot of cool conferences starting to pop up. I know Lee just had one, and I know it's going to happen more often. It's there's I don't know. I feel like there's an SEO conference renaissance on I believe on the horizon.
I hope so. I also would recommend get out of your bubble. So like if you're doing SEO spring training, then get out of that community and go find an SEO conference from that's built based on another community because you can find yourself in a rut. And that's where I found myself is like I go to like 3 or 4 conferences. It's all the same speakers, it's all the same people. I don't mind. I like seeing all you guys. It's awesome, but I would like to hear some new perspectives. Like if you go to 3 conferences in a row with Kyle Roos speaking, for example, you hear 3 different stories in the first 5 minutes, and then the rest of that is all the same presentation. See Craig Campbell, it's all the same slide deck. I think he's been using that same slide deck for the last 4 years now, and he just talks about it in different ways. So, yeah, to
Yeah.
Charles' point, find new opportunities, new conferences.
All right. Let's see. Charles, you had a slide you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we had a couple more slides. Let me share my screen here.
Oh, me being a pro again.
Oh
There
yeah,
you go.
Ted's playing God with access again.
Yeah, the power.
He's getting drunk with power. So yeah, this was the last couple slides. This is still on the whole uh, Search Central Live deep dive. There's a couple things we talked about. We were talking about the DOM almost a month ago. Now that I realize, that's why I kind of forgot about this. The document object model, when different things load, how it works, and there were two other slides I had in here which I forgot about. And this was identifying the key areas. So Google claims, and this is my goal for this slide is I would love to hear your guys' opinions on this. Google claims that it looks at different areas and it considers different areas important and some areas not important. So you'll see here, unfortunately, there's a bit of a head in the way, but you can see they show the header as not so important, navigation not so important. They didn't say not important. They didn't say they ignore it. And then they say main content very important. So that would imply to me that if you optimized your main content, or I should say, if you optimized your header navigation but not your main content, you wouldn't rank as well as someone who optimized just their main content. And I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this, maybe experiments you've done, because I'm not convinced that Google can identify this stuff. And I say that because several years ago, Google came out and made a comment for all the news organizations about syndicating their content. And they wanted us to start blocking the content on all the syndicated content because they claimed they could not figure out which was the canonical version, even though all these sites use different templates. So that would suggest to me that what are they looking at then? What are they looking at to figure out what is the main content, what is not the main content? So I'll be quiet now and I'll let you guys jump in.
I'm looking at that first sentence, and I know probably 99% of our viewers can't read it once it's been streamed to YouTube. It says you can embed a robots.txt file into an audio file, and it can be both a valid robots.txt and a valid audio file. And I'm thinking about that, going, that means they're disregarding MIME type. So and that's fascinating because that would be a way to cloak your robots.txt file from people looking at it.
Wait. So let's go back to
I was like, what the hell does that have to do with Charles? This is what Charles said.
I'm just reading the slide.
Ted's reading the slide. He's like, forget Charles's slide. I want to read their slide.
There was Mr. Kubaitis. I'm gonna put you on the stand now. Is it or is it not true that you took down a discuss section of a web page through shenanigans within the past 18 months?
Was that the
404?
Yeah, the 404 not found exploit, but they fixed that. You can't do that anymore. But yeah, I went into comment threads, put in the 404 not found messaging to see if the exploit was real, and it was.
Right.
Yeah.
So, there are certain zones, it'll read like, you can embed, I know you can embed things like, schema in an image and it'll read it, there's basically content within content. And this looks to me like another one of those sort of, and I don't know whether this part is true or not, but, it's not unprecedented.
Yeah, to me, it sounds like they'll read the audio file as if it were a text document, and the binary gobbledygook will be ignored, but the strings will still be strings in that file. And so they'll read the robots.txt lines from the strings within the binary, and then they'll ignore all the stuff they don't understand. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking is happening here. Because on Unix servers, you can look for the strings and binaries. There are commands for doing that. And so it sounds like they're reading the robots.txt in a way where they don't trust the MIME type.
So I'm gonna go back to Charles' original question because I had heard this is probably 2-3 years ago. Google made a statement. They even had a technical term for this central content on a page, not the templated stuff like your header, your nav, your footer, and widgets that appear on multiple pages on a site. They said that they weighted that central content more heavily when determining the topic of a page. And so, I think that the problem that you pointed out, Charles, with the um, press releases or syndicated content that goes out through multiple sites is the templated content is different. The central content is the same. They have trouble determining which one is the canonical because the pages all look different because they're not ignoring what's around it. They're just devaluing it to a degree when evaluating the topic. So
Yeah.
that's a different animal, I think.
And main content detection handles with cascading methodology. So they look for a main, then they look for a section that has a class or a name main, then they will look for the div with the largest number of paragraphs, then they'll, so they go through these cascading conditions to identify the main content. And if they're doing the cascading system like the rest of the engineering world is, then just wrap your whole page in a main tag and boom, now your header and your navigation are main content. So yeah, testing's needed here.
We tested this in SIA like a couple of years ago. So this is the same time that we ran the footer test with Ted, where he used one site, 15,000 pages, I think it was, and
50,000.
we sent, we ranked that for on-page SEO, that keyword with number 15 with just those links alone. So
Yeah,
we tested header navigation, footer navigation, sidebars, and main content to see which one where the link would get the most value, and it overwhelmingly was the main content one. So the other ones worked, but overwhelmingly the main content was better. So this idea here that's not so important, and then very important. I agree with it. The testing shows that that's actually truthful.
but is that because of the topical relevancy? If you put the topical relevancy in those other zones, does it even out?
I mean, we could play that game to heart's content about what about this? What about that? What about this? I just the point of the test was where did we put that link? Same anchor text. Where did we get the most value? And we got the most value in the main content.
Yeah, because if you
If
think
you
about
put all the main content and put it in the sidebar, would the sidebar be more valuable than the blank main content? Who knows?
well, I
I think
mean,
it gets to identification then. Like, and that was my thought is like, how does Google identify what the header, navigation, or main content? If you throw all your main content in the header, will Google then decide, well, that's not a header, that's the main content?
I think Lee kind of hinted to is semantic HTML, header, footer, and that kind of stuff is section, article. If the more you probably tell Google that, the better results you would get, I would expect. I think obviously we don't know how Googlebot's working. But we can speculate. So if Ted's right and they are reading mains and sections and articles and that kind of stuff, that's how you would manipulate this, I would think.
yeah,
Well, and it,
you got to be careful because if you look at the navigation, if my page is about, wool socks, but the navigation is about, pets and jewelry and da da da, do I really want that counted semantically towards the topic of my page?
Yeah.
Probably not, Whereas if it's entirely a local site, like it's all about plumbing, yeah, sure, throw that shit in. But Google's not going to do that. They're going to, identify zones and, apply weights to them. So
Yeah.
I
well, and
wonder
it,
if you did Ted's thing where you put the main tag around everything, whether you'd actually tank the page.
Because you still have the nav tag, depending on how you built the page, right? You'd still have the nav tag. So maybe the nav tag overrides the main. So, oh, it's in the main, but it's also the nav. So this is the nav. So this isn't, we're not weighting this as much as we are the
Yeah.
article.
well, and it could be tag agnostic in that Google could simply find the tag that has the highest topical relevancy, and that is the main content.
Hmm.
That's interesting speculation.
I think the good takeaway for this is Google seems to be trying to figure it out, make it easier for them to figure out, and then based on tests that Clint's done in the past, they've been able to
Yeah.
verify that it does seem to matter. Google does seem to want it at least wants to figure out the main content and then give it more weight.
Yeah.
And then our job as the developers, this kind of goes back to the whole CMS. Okay, well, is your CMS, is it doing a good job with the semantic HTML of defining this is the navigation, this is the header, this is the footer, this is the main body? If it doesn't do that, then you potentially have a problem, or you
Yeah.
potentially have,
Yeah, if you're
rewater
bad at
redundant content.
HTML programming, you could inadvertently hurt yourself
Yeah.
with, the way you
Yeah.
structure the page.
Yeah, so everybody
Yeah.
who wants to do flat HTML files, yeah, go ahead and do it. Just make sure you're using semantic HTML. Make sure you're following these rules because you could be hurting yourself.
So I think the biggest leak here though is still that the assertion that you can use an audio file as your robots.txt. That's the one I want to play with right
It says
away.
you're gonna embed it. It didn't say you could use it. It says you can embed it. I
Well,
will say though
No,
that
it says it'll still be a
if
valid
you watch the
robots.txt.
hackers videos, they're actually recently I've been watching a bunch of them, and there are methods where you can, put a whole file folder in an image and hide it on your computer. And I was like, ooh, if I can do that on my computer, why can't I do that on an Amazon S3 and then embed that image onto a web page? And then will Google find that stuff? I mean, that would be pretty cool. I know I can use hex code and change the whole image and put schema inside of hex code. As long as I don't format it, it'll clean all that stuff out. So
Yeah.
it is interesting. That's how malware gets on your computers, by the way. So if download somebody's, hey, look at this cool picture, and they send it to you, there could be malware embedded in it. Just so you know, that's how that gets in there.
Wow. Charles just sent me a John Mueller post on how the wave file thing is done.
Well, I
That's
wanted to
cool.
first make sure that the slide that they were showing in this deck was from a
Yeah,
real
and
post and not a made up post. Because I'm thinking you're going to go down this rabbit hole, and this is just John Mueller and Gary just trolling the audience or something.
no, they're showing in an editor why it works, and it's exactly like I suspected. It's showing the binary gobbledygook before and after the embedded string, but the only thing that the robots.txt consumers are going to do are going to be the syntax they understand. It'll ignore everything else.
Right.
Um,
Which is what I've seen if you go into Search Console, if you give it like what is it, crawl delay. I see that in a lot of robots.txts. People put crawl delays, and Google, if you look at it in Search Console, will be like, yeah, we ignore this. And Google will tell you that they ignore the line, that they're gonna crawl the way they want to crawl. And so my point is that if it finds invalid lines, it will ignore it and just read the lines that it does find valid.
I wonder if they change it to be a robots.txt file.
It says it's valid as a robots.txt file and an audio file. So to me, it's like, all right, I'm going to go make a wave file and make a post that is nothing but that wave file. So you can play my podcast, but then I'm going to try to embed a TXT file with optimized content and see if I can rank that page.
Another weird thought just occurred to me. I'm going to throw a curveball. I'm looking at this, and something Charles said made me think about this. What if I invented a slide like this, and I just, in this day and age where you can put anybody in an image, John Mueller in front of the slide on a stage in front of an audience, and just post it out there and go, look what he said about this. It's
You
just
get the right
interesting.
person to put that up on SEO LinkedIn and SEO Twitter, you will get people doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So SEOfakenews.com.
Trust me, I'm lying. Just go create a couple of fake news blogs and then share it to people like, did you see this? Is this true?
Yeah, the
And
leak of the secret meeting, it's like,
it looks like the magic secret sauce of this methodology is you have to adjust the server settings for how it responds to the file so that you can rename it to robots.txt, but when you open the robots.txt in a browser, it plays the audio instead of displaying the text. So there's a way to do your server configuration to make that happen. That's cool. That's a great ingredient for stealth SEO. That'll keep people away from your sitemaps if you don't use a standard sitemap file name. Yeah, one more piece for stealth.
And there was one of those slide is and this was a quote from another article, and this person had a pretty good rundown of what had happened there. And they said that Google tokenizes the content, splitting it into individual words or phrases. So, Lee, yes, Google does not read. It's just looking at a basket of words. I know you've said that millions of times, and it maps those tokens with URLs, something called the posting list, a highly efficient list. Now, I did try to look in the Google leak documents for the word posting and posting list. I didn't find anything in there for it. Um, so they may call it something else in their code. But I think this kind of really goes back and confirms that, yeah, it's Google's not reading your content. Google doesn't know what you're saying, doesn't know what you're talking about. It's figuring out what it's about because it's breaking up looking at the words and phrases on your page and then figuring out, okay, this page must be about X because you mentioned X over and over and over again. I'll pause for comment if
Yeah, yeah.
Ted looks like he wants to say something.
Well, this makes sense. I kind of suspect they made up the term the posting list because they already misused index. Um, but
Like I said, I didn't find that word in any way, shape, or form referenced in the leak. So I think you're right.
yeah,
They may have made it up for the
there
presentation.
way back in the day, there was this game called the Pepsi Under the Cap game, and this was back during like Windows 98, I believe, was the operating system back then. And servers weren't as robust as they are today, and there were 36 billion codes under the cap, so they needed a way that people could check if their cap was a winning cap, and they could download an MP3 with the code. And so what they ended up doing is setting up servers. Each server had, 100 database instances, and each database instance would cover codes starting with a prefix, and they'd replicate the servers until they could cover all of the codes. So when you would look up a code, it would look at the first letter or number and say, "Oh, you need to go to this cluster of servers." And then that cluster would look at the second letter and say, "Oh, you need to go to these 5 servers." And those 5 servers would look at the first 8 letters and say, "Boom, here's your response." And they could get these just several millisecond lookups for the Pepsi under the cap game to make it all work. And so when I see a system like this, it instantly gives me a picture of architecture like that. Maybe not exactly that, but the posting list for all these, billions of phrases and words would then have to be quickly mappable to look things up. And so I think there's something like that conceptually happening here.
So posting list is a thing. It's not a made up thing. It's a legit thing.
Mhm.
And it's part of looks like span a highly effective billion scale approximate blah blah blah. It's all super nerd shit. So I'll give you super nerds the link
Yeah, that
to
kind
that.
of sounded like what I was talking about.
Yeah, so it's a memory hybrid indexing and search system that essentially sorts those posting lists so it doesn't have to go through billions of them.
Yeah. So you can
So they
recall,
are a thing, but it's a data management thingy too.
Yeah,
yeah, the
Bill Slawski was
abstract
talking
says
about
it, so
this.
they can recall in around 1 millisecond,
Yeah.
one of the lookups.
Yeah, Bill Slawski was talking about this stuff back in 2010. So, and it looks like this was, they were changing to a phrase-based indexing. So this may be old terminology, but the concept is still,
Yeah,
relevant for a certain
neighborhood
period.
searching. So yeah, all the codes that begin with an R, and then all the codes that begin with an R7, and then that's neighborhood searching.
Yeah. Bill
Good
Slosky.
find, Clint.
You want to make Bill Slosky mad, just go to his grave and add a sign that LSI keywords exist and watch him get mad. It'd be funny.
Well,
I
I was
said
gonna
that dude
say,
in a meltdown when I told him that, like, yeah, LSI indexing isn't working, but LSI keywords are a thing. Yeah, he got all, but it was funny. Then he died not that long afterwards, so maybe they're related. I don't know.
I don't.
Damn it, Clint.
Yeah, I don't think. But I'm not.
Sometimes
Clint, do you want
correlation
that
is
honor, or
causation.
do you not want that honor?
Just gonna
this
say, yeah.
this white paper is anonymous, though. Nobody
The
put.
search term, this is the search term I used, and there's a whole bunch of them.
Okay.
I'll send it to you. But there's a hugging face thing too, and that was all super nerd. You might understand the hugging face one, but there's a search term I used to find it.
Awesome. Um, yeah. So that's cool.
And I
Any
realized I
other
did.
slides?
Yeah, I did have one announcement. I'd forgotten about this. I think you guys are going to be speaking there as well. I'll be speaking at the agency Fast Track in January. That one, it's a virtual conference, so it's there's no flying, there's no hotel costs. I would say that Lisa's setup that she's got, it gets you as close to an in-person conference as you're ever going to get, because you have kind of these breakouts and you can chat with people. It's as close to an in-person conference I think as you're going to get, and still be just online and not have to go travel or anything. So if you're interested, you check it out, Agency Fast Track. If you want to use my coupon code, you save a couple bucks. If you want to pay the whole price, then just don't use my coupon code. So there you go. But yeah, Ted, I think you're speaking there, and Clint and Lee, I'm assuming you guys are speaking there as well, or
Yeah. Content wise, another great conference. So if you can't afford to travel, this is a great alternative.
and I'm going to be
Yeah.
talking about indexation and crawling. And Clint, I'm going to piss you off so much with my presentation. You're going to disagree with me. You're going to hate it. And that's okay. That's good. I can get us get some good conversations going about this.
I'm glad to know that. I'm gonna sit next to Clint at the virtual conference right there because I want to see it
Just
going
elbow
on.
them.
Yeah.
I'll
I
just
will
change my
live
profile
stream.
picture to Charles is a retard.
I'm gonna live
Oh, you
stream
warned
print.
them, Charles.
Yeah.
Rookie mistake.
Well, I want to warn him. This is part of the plan. I want him to go in hot. I don't want him coming in. I don't want him coming in cold. I want him coming in hot. Like, all right, what the hell is this guy gonna say?
Yeah. I'm gonna live stream Clint with your presentation audio in the background. It's gonna be great.
All right, let's get to some questions here. Let's see. Someone comments, looks like WordPress blogs got smashed by Google. Have you guys seen anything like that?
Well, most mass sites are made with WordPress because it's easier and it's full of AI shit. So if, I guess if that's the correlation you want to go through, go for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't assume that WordPress is the vector. It might be, the number of pages. So if you're a 5-page WordPress site for a plumber, whatever's smashing websites on Google's end probably doesn't apply to 5-page plumber sites. I know like helpful content seemed to pass over all the little sites. So yeah.
Mr. Kubaitis, you are suggesting that if it's not WordPress, it's my mass content, which I know to be spot on. So it's got to be WordPress.
Yeah, it has to
No,
be.
Couldn't
no,
be me. Couldn't be me.
Couldn't be my stuff. No.
a lot
I
of
just had a WordPress site that I was having all kinds of trouble getting rankings, and it was indexing and getting crawl, but it wasn't ranking. And then just in the last couple of weeks, now it's ranking wonderfully. So, and that's WordPress. So there's no anti-WordPress bias going out there.
Well, when your SEO sucks, you can't take ownership. So it's got to be a Google update, Charles. Step
Indeed,
back.
indeed.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Let's see. Any tips for finding physical product wholesalers? I keep finding fake wholesalers at every turn. Yeah, because they're all trying to earn a commission as an intermediate. When I was doing my own retail, I used Panda Hall. Um, the problem with ordering from China is it can take 3 to 6 months, so you got to plan your inventory levels appropriately so you always have something to sell. Um, the other issue is now there's lots of tariffs, so playing that game might not be as advantageous as it was years ago. So my advice is, literally everything up front. So you can run this business out to going live and do scenarios on number of sales you might get. You can find from other online retailers on Reddit what their bad rate is for incoming broken inventory. You can figure out, your margins and what would sustain the business. You could figure out your landed costs. You could figure out your tax and shipping. There is not a single thing in this business model you don't know up front. So if you don't have that spreadsheet and multiple scenarios of if I only get a few sales, it looks like this, and if it goes nuts, it looks like that, run the numbers. It's online retail. There's no guesswork. There's no surprises. It's either you did the work or you didn't. Let's see. Meanwhile, yeah, we saw that. Big difference between Clint WordPress and 90% of other SEO WordPress. I don't know what that means.
Paying Clint a compliment.
Yeah.
You're saying that I'm pretty much awesome.
Clearly a deranged user. Or
Yeah.
And I agree, sir.
In my own mind.
That's one of Clint's alter personas.
Yeah, he posted that himself.
Yeah, he's
you
posted
bastard.
positive stuff about himself. Got another
the-
computer to his right. He's
It's the Stuart Smalley school of
my persona.
Yeah. Is there any use for SERP bolded sentences, not the variations, but where you get a whole sentence bolded? There probably is a way to use those in some way. I haven't figured out what that is. But technically, Google is still bolding those because they're saying, look how relevant these results are to your inquiry. The question is, how do you leverage the sentence ones? They're relevant sentences, they're not relevant terms. So, probably, and that's a place for new knowledge. Test it out. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why they do, and a lot of reasons why they could, and there's a lot of theories out there. But I would love to see somebody gather up all of those and do some analysis and do some comparison and see if they can figure out why certain things are chosen over others, and if there's a way that we can exploit that. So testing is required.
And I'd be willing to wager there probably is a way to leverage those for SEO benefit. Let's see. What do you think about the Ahref Google Sheet checklist for ranking in LLMs? Well, let's first start with my opinion on checklists. So I tried to make the authoritative checklist in SEO, and I quit when I hit 10,000 checkpoints and realized I wasn't anywhere near close to being done. So any checklist, kind of in our industry is always going to be woefully incomplete. Um, so knowing that, my first guess is because it's a checklist, it's probably going to be woefully incomplete because that's the nature of them. I haven't seen their one on ranking in LLMs, but I have seen a few conference presentations on ranking in LLMs, and most of them had really interesting observations. And so I would kind of treat it like that. This is Ahrefs observations on the matter, and you probably need to test to see if you can make any of them work for you. What are your thoughts, guys?
I just think that the viewers out there who are watching the show need to check a list of Ted's trigger words before they post a question.
No, they go to that list before they answer or ask a question.
Yeah, that's a good thing. No, I think, again, checklists right now, I'll just make a blanket statement. There's a lot of fucking claims about um, the LLMs, how to rank in them, what it does, what it doesn't do, what's good for it, what isn't good for it. There's checklist process and everything else. And there's very, very little fucking data to support any of the assertions. So, I would love to see if there is anything behind that particular resource, not just the fact that a resource exists, because, right now, if you look, I saw something and it was Google Trends the other day, all these AEO terms are just hockey sticking in terms of search volume because everybody wants to know. So it's a hot topic right now and people are taking advantage of it, but not a lot of data that I've seen.
I think that it's generative AI. The checklist is interesting and it's good. And I would, it's a list of things you can test. There's 89 things in there you can test and see how it works. The problem is I haven't seen one that's repeatable yet. So I can give the same prompt. All four of us can run it. And we're all four going to get different answers because it's generative AI. It's making up an answer it thinks you want to know. And that's why I think AI tracking all those softwares is kind of a ripoff. Tell me what you know about X brand, and it's going to give you the answer. And then you, as an AI tracking tool, can go, look, your brand's in AI. Like, yeah, moron, because your prompt said specifically, tell me about it. So, um, yeah, I think these are cool. It's interesting content. Obviously, it worked because we're talking about it. But you need to test it at the end of the day. And I think SEO is still going to play a role in it. I mean, they've proven that ChatGPT is using Google now to do these kind of things. So if you're not in Google, you're not doing SEO, then you're not going to be referenced as citing sources in ChatGPT now or in Perplexity. And then they're arguing, oh, the ranking results don't match what Google's showing when ChatGPT recognizes it. Well, that algorithm, that AI tool has different requirements for different sources, so you wouldn't necessarily always be, just because you're number one in Google doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be the number one cited source in ChatGPT. But you do have to be in there to be found and considered. So
Mhm.
I'd just say, play with it and Honestly, if anyone says, "Oh, SEO is dead, AI is the way to go," then discount them, delete their channel out of your subscription list, um and start testing things. Actually, test things. That would be awesome.
I agree.
Yep.
Let's see. So now Clint is back. Bye, Charles. No, no, we're just gonna have four co-hosts. We're
Charles
not.
has to stay, or else we wouldn't have any slides.
Yeah.
It'll
Well,
go
I
back
have a
to
supporter right after that. They said
Yes.
they need we need avocado slides. We need avocados and slide rants. So
yeah.
Yeah.
so we have folks that are in the Lee camp. They want to watch me get worked up over things. I
Yeah,
can't imagine why
so
anybody wouldn't watch that.
uh Jordan says stenography is definitely a thing, but I think stenography is hiding the data in the pixel values, whereas the trick with the wave files is they're using a metadata field inside for just text, and then they're reading the binary, and the text is still preserved in the binary noise. So a little bit different than stenography, a bit easier to decode than stenography, but similar for sure. Um, let's see. I would love uh, Ted to sum up all the major paths to SEO success.
Oh dear God! Don't even entertain it.
Number one.
Fucking kill me now. I would love for Ted to do it to you. You just send him via what is that? Western Union, a check for $100,000, and then 5 Java coders so they can actually take over the Cora project, and then Ted will make that course for you. Otherwise, pound sand. How's that?
Yeah, if it's really important to you, just text me on Microsoft Teams and I'll give you my 5 minutes on the topic. My team's name is just my name, all one word, all lowercase. We won't
It's
we won't
HOLLO.
torture Clint. Um,
These guys are all thinking the same damn thing. What kind of question is that? That's what they're asking. I'm just the one going to tell it to you because Ted's too nice. So that's why he keeps me around.
I keep you around because you're awesome. I don't keep you around because you're a yes man who inflates
He was
my
going to say
ego.
you're a nut.
That's what it sounded like. It did sound like that.
It did sound like that.
No, no, I like Clint, and I feel that his grumpiness about wrongs in the industry is actually a community service. Like, he's given proper feedback to proper problems that people are just letting slide. And, even if it's sometimes about me, it's not like he's wrong, you know? So I'm not going to fault him for being an honest person when others won't step forward and do it, So I view it as community service.
I'm also
If
going to have to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to have to give Charles props for seating Clint 3 months in advance of your presentation to let him stew for a quarter. That's ballsy, sir. That's
yeah,
ballsy.
that is ballsy. I mean, he's gonna come with a custom t-shirt that's gonna take you down without having to say a single word.
Yeah.
It'll just be my picture with a red cross through it.
All right. What are your thoughts on Surfer SEO and Neuron Writer? My personal thoughts is that all tools have a best use case and require good training to be able to do those use cases efficiently and well. So merely having a tool does not give you an outcome. Learning to use a tool gives you an outcome. So, lots of people can buy a tape measure, but that doesn't mean they know how to use it.
My biggest frustration with so I'll go on like a super mini rant here with like Surfer SEO, Neuron Writer, Pop, Cora, anything. Doesn't matter what tool you're using. When folks come to me and say, you know, I'll just say Surfer SEO gives me a 99 out of 100. Why aren't I ranking? Well, because you're not trying to optimize for Surfer SEO. You have to optimize for Google. Are the tools worthless? No, they're not worthless, but they're just giving you their information based on certain rules they've established. Does that mean you shouldn't, if you have Surfer SEO, should you not try to get a good score? Yeah, try to get a score, but ultimately it's not about the Surfer score. It's about whether you rank or not. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
everyone gets obsessed, and that's the same thing. It bugs me a little bit about people talking about like domain rating and page rating, and it's not that these things aren't part of Google's algorithm. Well, obviously not the href rating isn't part of the algorithm, but there is some kind of domain authority in Google's algorithm. But when folks get so obsessed over their like Moz rating or hrefs rating or something, it's like that's a third party. That's not what the tools are using. Is it a barometer? Definitely. It lets you know whether you're better than something else, but it's not the be all and end all. So
Yeah.
get a tool, use the tool, but just know that the tool's not the end result. Uh, use it
And
to
know
get
that
some.
they're working on different things. You mentioned Surfer and Neuron Writer. Those are two different tools that are using two different systems to create two different outputs. Surfer is going to give you essentially entity list. Neuron Writer is going to give you n-gram phrase lists. Those are two different things that you can combine and leverage. And both of them can be beat by a good prompt that'll account for that all together too. So if you're using AI content, you can, once you get a prompt that gets you a score in both of those tools, and you can cancel your subscription to those tools because you already have addressed what those tools were looking for, and then find yourself another tool that adds a third element to it.
And that right there is a mic drop bomb. It's one that I'm not thrilled about because it really comes after the tools industry, but it is truth. So yeah, if you're looking to cost reduce, what Clint just said right there is practically a gold mine.
Mhm.
So Ted, cover your ears for a second, please. That was our main takeaway from Lee's conference a couple weeks ago, is that it's not a death of SEO, but it might be a death of SEO tools, meaning AI. AI is going to put a lot of SEO tool makers out of business.
Or it's going to make them, you can unplug.
Yeah, I didn't think he was
Unplug.
really going to do it.
Tell them to unplug.
Let's see how long he can keep him with his fingers in his
Yeah.
ears. Oh,
I
he's
mean,
the guy talking about.
it will kill SEO tools that don't want to advance if
Mhm.
and if they're slow to advance. And I've been telling Ted this forever. It feels like beating my head against the desk. Like, you gotta update, you gotta, progress, you gotta do stuff. And he's, honestly, I think it's all Ted's fault because he's got this perfectionist mentality. I'm like, fucking fire that shit off broken. Who cares? You're testing new features, send it off, update it. It can't take 6 months to a year to release a new thing now anymore. You just cannot afford it if you're going to own a SaaS. That's why I won't do it. I fucking absolutely refuse to create a SaaS now. The only reason I got Rank Gear is because I got a business partner who does all the hard shit. It's, so you got, if you're gonna be in an SEO tool space, and Ted's gonna, I know he wants to continue for some time until he gets tired of it too, but you got to be able to push updates, new features, and adapt to what those AI, because AI tools are going to replace the basic functionality, and most of them pretty damn fast. I came up with a prompt that I shut off. I canceled my InLinks subscription. I love InLinks. Absolutely love them. Paid them $129 a month. But then I came up with a prompt and everyone was 100. There's no more value in InLinks for me anymore. So it's going to be the same with all of those SEO tools. Figure it out, or we're going to figure it out for you and cancel your subscriptions. That's at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to test, learn, pivot, innovate, and get it out. And you're right, I got to figure out how to do it faster.
Yep.
So all
And not,
truth.
and not just Ted, all of them got to do it. They got to be faster at it and stop copying fucking each other, because your UI is the differentiator right now. That's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's your UI is the differentiator, because in you can only get so complex, and let's say you just adding AI tools, right, Ted? You can only get so complex in the prompts that you're sending if you're going to push through an API, and then you got to create steps and stages. But your UI is really the differentiator that all four of us are going to look at a tool and go, do I really want to take that on and use it? Yeah, be cool, but do I really want to use it? So
Yeah, and that's kind of why Cora was so damn awesome. It was a URL and a keyword, and you're off to the races.
yeah,
Like workflow wise, that's the best UI in the industry.
yeah,
And yeah, it's hard to compete with that when you're trying to do something new. And I went through 4 different user interfaces going, nope, I fucked up the UI. Nope, I fucked up the UI.
yeah,
And yeah, you just got to. And it's painful because it's kind of like going back to square one on a big piece of the software. But you have to do it. And you know, good writing, whether it's a novel or code, requires lots of rewriting.
yeah. I think a good example, if you guys are thinking about looking at SaaS and how to do a SaaS from a customer perspective, is go see what Matt Zimmerman's doing with ZimWriter. I mean, that guy is always pushing, and adapting and changing. And even if it's just little updates, you can see the progression of it, and you want to be there for the ride. To me, he probably the shining example of how to run a SaaS software. I would never I tried it. We have rank gear, and I'm happy that I've delved my toe into it, but I'll never do that again.
Let's see. Was reviewing a template using just div, would there be SEO value to change to semantic HTML with the main nav section, figure, footer, so on? There could be. I think it helps Google identify your main content, and if most of your SEO is in the main content, there's an efficiency to that. Help Google understand you better. But I don't think it's required. There's a ton of evergreen stuff from 20 years ago that predate semantic HTML tags, and those still rank just fine. Um, so, is there an advantage? Possibly. You'd have to test to measure.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have tested that and shown results, but I still haven't found the theme. Let's say you're using WordPress that leverages the semantic HTML just right, in the right way. I mean, Oxygen, Live Canvas, Bricks, and there's another one you can sort of do that with it, but you still have all the other WordPress themes in there. So if you want to do true test, you would have to go straight HTML and check it out and see how it does.
That I agree 100% with that too. If I was building an HTML site from scratch, I'd probably implement the semantic HTML. It wouldn't be that hard to do it if you're
Yeah.
doing it from scratch. If you have an existing site, I wouldn't be in a rush to rip it up
Yeah.
unless you have a test that shows you, yeah, you know, put everything in this article tag and it's going to rank better or something, or
Yeah,
put all your ads or something in an aside tag, and I know it's an aside tag is still an index zone. I know I've tested it. So it's not like Google ignores it completely.
yeah. I mean, let's say you don't want to test it out, and you're an affiliate. You can just create it. You can go old school Google sniper sites. They're single page websites, and you can create those all day long and put them up and test it out at the
Yeah.
same time as you know, one, does it work? And then two, is it going to help you rank for an affiliate product? Just create a single site for that one page single site for that one product. Go check it out.
There's a question you missed, Ted. The thoughts on Bing ChatGPT correlation still the same? That asked that one of me. I'll just point this out because this ties to a lot of the conversations that we've had today, because the four of us operate very, very similarly. I want you guys to envision that you've got a a store and it's got two windows on the outside, and in one window there's a line of 1 million people, and the other one there's a line of 5 people. The line of 1 million people for us is there's a lot of fucking opinions out there. Then we all have this. Everybody that's watching this encounters lots and lots of ideas about how SEO works, marketing works, what's dead, and when it's going to happen and why. But on the other side, the other window is actual data, people with fucking data. And that's where I spend my time. So when I hear things that people claim, or checklists, or any of these sort of things, I'm like, where's your data to support this? And if they don't have an answer or they don't have data, then it's shut up. I'm moving on to something else, because I don't have time to do everybody's fucking homework for them. Neither does Clint, neither does Charles, neither does Ted. So I think we're all looking, we're at a stage where we're looking at, do you have evidence to support your claim? So with respect to this, when I see data that says something different is going on, I will change my opinion. Until that time, no.
There is another.
Don't be afraid to have your opinion changed too. I know Lee,
No,
you've talked
yeah.
about things just recently. Lee told me something years ago, and I'm trying to mess around with it. I'm like, I'm not sure Lee's right. I think he's wrong about this. And then recently something happened. I'm like, okay, maybe Lee is onto something. Maybe this is right. So let me take a look at this. Let me do some more testing and see whether I agree with him or not. And that's what it is. And that's you have to, you have data. That's the scientific method. Other people should be able to replicate it, and if they can't, then maybe there's a third factor going on that you don't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I love finding those third factors.
I think people got on the other side of that. We have to be so like you don't publish your tests, Lee. We essentially got to take your word for it that you tested it. I mean, I've questioned it myself. Is Lee really testing it, or is that Honey doing it? She's the smart one, and Lee's the puppet. That might be what's going on. So
That could very well be.
yeah,
So
so there is you got to take the source first and go, what is the motivation for him saying this thing? And then, okay, now do I want to take the time and say, is it real or not? And how do I say it's real? I gotta test it. And then also what may work for all three of these guys might not work for me in my market too. So does that mean that they're wrong? Necessarily no. So I mean, there's a lot of that's why we always say you can listen to all four of us all day long and think we're the greatest or think we suck horribly, but until you tested what we're telling you, you just don't know. So.
mhm.
That's a good point of taking your test. So, for example, like Clint said things. He's talked about linking and whatnot. I'm like, if Clint says it, then I'm going to try it out. I'm going to do it. I'm not even going to test it. I'm just going to do it on a client or do it with my own site and see what happens. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, then maybe I'm doing it wrong first, is my first thought. And then, yeah, to Clint's point, maybe I'm doing something. I have to do more or less because of the niche, because of the market. Um,
See, but having ChatGPT or other tools has its drawbacks. Generally, you need more time, copy paste stuff, work out various edge cases, etc. While tools generally have consistent output and address those issues on scale. Sometimes yes, not always. But I think it really depends what you're doing. Um, so I know I get a ton of efficiency using AI for development. It's like having a second developer right next to me. I would estimate it at least $60,000 a year value or better to have AI while coding.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, there are drawbacks. Most of the drawbacks are on the stuff that people do hastily and poorly and deploy quickly and don't put a lot of thought or effort into. Those are usually the things that go sideways.
Yeah, and I think Clint was talking about this earlier. He didn't use these words, but LLMs are probabilistic, so they're predicting tokens, they're predicting words and phrases and things like that. So you can have the same prompt and run it multiple times and get different output and thus different quality. So yeah, I mean, does that mean you don't use it? I mean, if you're saving $129 a month, every so often when it gives him a bad roll of the probabilistic dice, does that mean he should, go back to inlinks? Probably not.
All
And it
right.
also makes you use your damn best SEO tool you have, and that's your brain. And if you're not using that and relying on tools, then who stick with the one that's giving you the best consistent income, because that way at least you're always wrong.
Do you think having parks and other landmarks can have entity pollution on a page? Yes, and there's a proper way to use those, and there's a lot of common ways to misuse them. When those things have nothing to do with their topics of the page, not necessarily. It depends on the architecture of your local site. If you have location pages that are trying to be geo-relevant to a specific part of a city, then those things have value. They have geo-relevancy to that area. It disambiguates that's part of Springfield from some Springfield in another state. Because all those landmarks, all those addresses, all those phone numbers, and by the way, lists of phone numbers is one of the black hat things in the webmaster guidelines not to do because it works. But it's white hat when it's relevant supplemental content about the page. But you have to have your service pages separated. If you're doing conjoined service location pages, then yeah, it's entity pollution. If you're doing location pages that link out to service pages, then it's geo relevancy applied to properly tuned service keywords. So it really depends on how you structure. Any thoughts on that?
No, I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I think it's exactly the structure and how you're applying it. Like, if you're talking, let's say you're an SEO, what does coffee shops have to do with SEOs? Generally nothing. But if you structure that page properly, it could be everything. These are my favorite
Yeah.
top 5 places I meet my clients. And then you talk about, we do this is good internet here, and we can talk about the SEO campaigns. You can connect that stuff and connect the dots and keep the relevance up pretty quick. Problem is, most people are just like, oh, I need to add neighborhoods to it. So they go get a list of 50 neighborhoods and throw it on their page and then wonder why it shit didn't work.
All right, let's see. Last question here. So if you have a question, it's now or never. Otherwise, we end the show. How would you suggest we go about testing the ChatGPT Bing correlation? Um,
The way,
well,
the way everybody else has done it, it's just been large scale data analysis. You go, scrape a whole bunch of SERPs for, the SERPs for a whole bunch of keywords and see what it pulls up and see what the correlation is. That's kind of been the standard thus far.
and another thing you could do is block the page from Googlebot visits. Make a test page, block the page from Googlebot visits, and then get that ranking in Bing and have a test keyword on it that's only on that page, and does the test keyword appear in Bing and become findable uh, in the AI. So you'd have to structure the test so that you could definitively prove that ChatGPT drew from Bing data.
Yeah.
All right, that's a show. Thank you, everyone.
Yay.
Oh, I thought I did answer that I'm trying to pivot the software. So It's my top priority. I'm not doing anything else first other than working on the pivot, which is new technology, new capabilities for going forward.
Yeah.
I am maintaining Cora for a number of years, so it's not like that's going to vanish on anyone. It still works just fine for ranking. But we need to have a forward-facing plan, and that requires new technology.
Yeah, and training sessions are dependent on the delivery of the new software. So
Yeah. All new website, new training architecture, new videos, all that stuff is secondary to getting the beta into Clint's hands.
Because in the words of friends, we'll close this show out with one word. Pivot! Pivot!
Yeah, that was a good episode.